the greatest animal that ever walked in the lands of India, tiger. So, what Imran Siddiqui bhai has been doing for quite some time is a great motivation for every other wildlife for because we talk about tigers. We, as I said before we started the talk, we own the greatest uh, tiger reserve in India, the biggest tiger reserve in India, yet we have some difficulties in getting that animal into our corridors. So I take immense pleasure to introduce Mr. Imran Siddiqui, who's a member of HyTiCoS, Hyderabad Tiger Conservation Society. Over to Imran.
Uh, I'm Imran Siddiqui and I've been working for tiger conservation since 2001. Can you start the slideshow, please? Yeah. So I'm going to talk about the work we have started in these two Telugu states when it was one big Andhra Pradesh. And this is about how how we are doing to bridge science, communities and policy in order to secure tigers in Telangana. So before this whole thing, I mean, of tiger getting extinct and all that started taking shape, Telangana was kind of a state which was copying what British were doing. So we were actually having shikargas, which later on became protected areas. The Madras presidency state areas of Sri Salam and also Papikonda and all that entire coast area and much of Eastern Ghats were a little better protected because British were trying to use those for exploitation. So they were actually earmarking some areas and keeping everything out of those areas, and they are large areas. So we did have a bottleneck. We did have a crisis in Telangana and Andhra when almost in 2001 when I participated in census. My team went first time in parts of Telangana and Andhra. We found actually zero tigers, even in Sri Salam. And I think 1960s, they estimated around 100 tigers in Andhra and Telangana put together. And it must have gone down to some maybe 10, 15 tigers. So can you start the presentation? So I'm going to just talk about a story where how a simple background person has been able to put in a team together and do something for conserving this wildlife. So all started in 2000 April when there was an article in the Times of India. Times of India was a new newspaper then and it was quite famous because it was very colorful. And in that there was an article like Bravehearts invited to count tigers in census of Andhra Pradesh. So this was invitation from Sri Salam. Just before 1999, I heard was the first time they have ever invited volunteers for census. And when I went there, what I saw was in my manifestation of tigers or any wildlife sanctuary, I always used to think that tigers and wildlife maybe sanctuaries may be a place where I'll go and see a lot of wildlife. This also comes from National Geographic episodes and all that we started seeing then. So when I went there, it was all forest was burning. There was Maoist presence in much of the forest. We couldn't access much of the forest. And after traveling for 10 days and walking for hundreds of kilometers, we came across only one place where we got a tiger pug mark in Ittunagaram. We thought that, oh, tigers must be in Sri Salam. Then we went to Sri Salam and there another team was doing it, who we have met just before this. And they also found only one place where the tiger was there. Probably Sri Salam was much more inaccessible, so there were hopes that there are tigers inside. But what I was thinking when it's like 2000, that I should go back and join some NGO and do something for tiger conservation. But when I saw this, next. This is the first time I ever went to park, and you can see that road was doubling up, and that was a small stretch of road passing through Ittunagaram, which was just getting a little bigger. Now there is a much wider road. Next. And from there we went to Sri Salam, and then the forest department officer then said that no, we don't allow volunteers anymore. We want only serious people who spend 365 days. That's when I decided that, okay, I'll become a volunteer. I cannot shift the whole career to conservation or get a livelihood in this. So I started my own organization called Hyderabad Tiger Conservation Society. And this was the resolve just coming out from Srisalam, I had this t-shirt, I wore this and said that this will be the first day and we'll start. And this is how HyTiCoS came into being. Next. And we started doing censuses from 2001 to 10. We continued doing censuses, we learned the technique, and we actually went and started training forest department for doing this tiger censuses. Next. But one good thing about the entire tiger story is that we have this cultural value for conservation which is so strong. Be it Kaleshwaram, be it any of the temples which are situated in the forest, they're actually bringing a lot of cultural value that we have this sort of tigers and wildlife. Next. This I found when I went to the tribal people where actually there was scope that they actually worship tigers. Although tigers have gone almost to zero in Adilabad where I started the work, but I saw that people really worship them. And in fact, I met some grazers from the tribal community. One Motiram, I remember I met, he was saying that it's okay that we lose cattle. So they do a puja for Rajulak Pen. This is puja which happens in July every year, in which after that I was talking to them. They were saying that yeah, we lose cattle, but the weaker ones, the ones which are about to die or bring in more disease to our thing, will be taken by tiger, and tiger is our god. We don't mind. Same thing in Chenchu cultures. Tiger is Pedama, and believe me, this the great strength and all that is given to female deities in Hindu culture. So that's what we see for tigers. They consider it as a female deity. So they consider it as Padma. Same thing in Sundarbans. So these are things which actually are the values which had conserved these animals for centuries. And I think that was one harnessing point. But next. So if you see, why tigers? If you see, these are the forests in Andhra and Telangana put together. And you see, these are the rivers coming out from the forest. And the darker parts are the sanctuaries. If you see those rivers, be it Krishna, Godavari, on the top Krishna or Pennar, all these rivers are taking the catchments in this forest. So this forest of tigers are so critically important to have waters, functional waters flowing out from this. Next. There was some assessments done on ecosystem services from these areas, and these are the different things which come from the forest, including the carbon sequestration, the large chunk of trees taking a lot of carbon and give a lot of oxygen. So this was done by Indian Institute of Forest Management. Next. This is Srisalam Dam. Next. So just the flow benefits from the water from Nagarjuna Sagar, and this was assessed for both the parks together, Amrabad and Srisalam, is 4,977 crores. Around 5,000 crores of benefit Telugu states get from the forest of Srisalam and Amrabad put together. This is just a small thing. If you add up what is Godavari getting from water from the tiger habitats, or what forest is contributing to Pennar, this will be becoming 10, 15, 20,000 crores, which is a huge amount. Next. This is just water I'm talking about. And there are some intangible benefits which are like carbon, pollination, or like other cultural services which gives Srisalam adds 66,254. All put together, for a rupee spent in conservation in Srisalam and Amrabad, was estimated that the return investment value is 7,500 rupees. For average for India is 1 rupee spent on tiger conservation, the return value is 2,500 rupees. But for Srisalam, because of the massive size, it's India's largest tiger reserve, it is 7,500 rupees which we get back in terms of all the services. So no other business will give you that kind of return. People in business will know this. Next. But what was happening when I started walking in this forest is all forest was burning, still keeps burning. Every year we have 2 rounds of forest fires. People who have been in the forest like Amarnath, Pradeep, everybody knows this. Next. Or there are these illegal lines being put across the forest, like roads or linear intrusions which come. And these are done for people benefit. And collectors are, just a week ago there was a news item that Nirmal and Manchiral collectors are kind of on loggerheads with forest department. Basically, they're bullying forest department to allow all these kind of activities without following the due process. So that was happening ever since we got into this whole development tide, but it's increased ever since Telangana and Andhra have separated, and there is this whole huge push for development projects, as we have seen in Kancha, Gachibowli. Next. Or there is the inward push for taking more land for the landless. So there are these drives where people want to give land to tribals, and there are every few 4 years, 3 years, there's an iterative process of giving away lands. They call it Podu. Podu is loosely they call. Podu is like something which was a shifting agriculture. Good ma'am, you brought it up. Podu is something which is shifting agriculture, which tribals used to do. It's a very sustainable practice where people, they used to, in small numbers, they used to take a small area, clear it, and go to the next area after 3-4 years. But now they're encroaching. This is like bringing down the forest, and they use the word loosely as Podu. This word was supposed to be restricted to tribals. But now much of the forest is with BC communities, ST communities, forward class communities, every communities living around this place, and they call, politicians call it Podu, so everybody calls it Podu, and this is termed as the rightful thing for people, and forest departments disallowing them from their rights. They should be given some land, they are landless. This is the story on the ground. Next. So Telangana and Andhra, this is the forest cover. Next. 2014. Next. This is what happens on the ground. Next. Forest cover next. This, and they say Podu. This is a rightful right for the poor people to exercise. Next. So Amarnath was working with me earlier. He was a volunteer, then he was full-time. He was one of the person who was documenting such things. So our team keeps documenting this and keep a tab. Unfortunately, we cannot do much about this because these are all politically motivated things, but these are important things to talk about. Next. So what do we do? We do this estimation of tigers. Actually, we use science, I told. How do we use science? We actually count tigers, and we have from counting tigers from using the Pugmark method, we have moved on to doing it with using camera traps and all that. And we have actually advanced, we were the pioneer in Andhra and Telangana to start capturing tigers on infrared cameras using motion detected cameras in the forest. And we brought this technology and taught forest department. Now forest department doing on their own, great, but still that protocols and all that needs to be always told how to be followed. So this is kind of reports we give. Unfortunately, we cannot put this in public domain because there are sensitive information of tigers and all that. Something happens wrong, it may come back. Next. Next. So how do we do it? These are like camera traps we put place in. Again, this research is important to know how many tigers are there, how many females are there with cubs and all that. But more importantly, it is very useful for having access to that area and know what's going wrong in that area so that we can address those issues. Next. So these are all locations where we put the camera traps and go and count tigers using the photos we get. These are the home ranges of different tigers. We make a minimum home range polygon of each tiger. So this is all classified information. I'm just sharing for the purpose of the presentation. Next. Or we these are places where they are not protected. This is Kaval Tiger Reserve, this is Kannargaon Sanctuary, and these are all unprotected places. So there also we monitor these tigers, and if you see these regions are where you have larger, like more movement of tigers. The dark is some movement, and the bright spots there are more movement of tigers. So we actually prioritize areas where to do the monitoring and give the patrolling plans with forest department, and we share this data with forest department. Next. So we also do habitat used by tigers. If you see 60% of dense forest, 32% open forest. Next. We also find out tigers, we do occupancy surveys outside the tiger reserves and find out where the tigers are moving and try to protect this land. This is Gulna Parmeshwaram, this is place where Ahubilam temple is there. We want to protect this land also with some protection status. Next, we started doing this snare removals since 2008, and we continue to do that. we basically go and pull out snares, and now we are making final maps of where these snares are being put to kill the prey animals actually, which people want to eat or sell, and that becomes the protein source for the local people, plus also bushmeat for sale. So we actually remove the snares, and now we are involved forest department, and even next cases are being booked. So these are the kind of hunting methods we have been documenting, and by doing this, we have also encouraged a generation of forest department people also to join in this, and slowly we are all together trying to curb this kind of menace, which is like people put live electric lines saying that they are protecting crops, or they do wire snares, or they do battery shikar. Next. So then we also do human-wildlife conflict mitigation. Next, where the tigers do come out, there were 4 cubs which have come out. We have found out places where there are cattle kills, and we map them again, heat maps of those. Next. And we also rescue tigers which are come in human habitations, or the mothers which have been killed or poached. We take the cubs. This was 1-year-old cub we were rescuing. Next. This is a female which had a cut. You can see there is a snare which is stuck here on the waist, which was to be rescued and had to be removed. And there was one female we couldn't rescue because K4 in Telangana, because she was too smart and she was not getting. Generally, when they get snared, they become very elusive and they don't come in any of your traps. Next. So we involve local communities in patrolling, in getting more information. Next. We influence policy by supporting people's rights from behind, not for Podu rights, but for other rights which they should be getting, so that they don't depend on forest or hunting much. Next. Next. We do a lot of capacity building workshops. At least some 1,000 to 1,500 forest frontline staff people are repeatedly being trained on different things. Next. 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 And most important thing which I learned early in my career is like there is lack of political will. So this is one thing we keep doing, is building political will. I have managed to get on some of the committees, so I try to influence the policy there, but also try to directly or indirectly connect with the politicians and get things done. Like we did in uranium mining with Pawan Kalyan Garu, who was not in government, but he was in Telangana and Hyderabad, but we could influence a policy. I can talk about it sometime later. Next. So this involving this MLA was very much against. His brother actually hit a female range officer badly. And we had to convince him so that he was being bullying in that area. So he is the one who launched a poster for not hunting, not using electric lines. So then he also took it forward next, to take the tiger story from Kagasnagar to CM. Next. We do a little bit of outreach event. Next. And we continue to keep pressure on using media as a source. Next. So my son is here, Yaya. I want him to have land of Andhra and Telangana put together having around 300 tigers. We have around 100 tigers now. And these 2 states continue to get benefits, ecosystem benefits, a lot more than what we are getting by protecting this forest. Thank you.